All right, anyways, where is Bitcoin at in its cycle? All right, still about the 50th percentile. We're actually below the 50th percentile. We're 5% below the center of the logarithmic channel. We are 300% below the logarithmic potential maximum of the bull market. And we're about 46% above support for BTC. Kind of really put that into perspective for you. We have noticed, of course, we can just pull up an SMA, which I should probably just have on the chart. A moving average simplified. On the weekly time frame, you really need no look farther than this. Slap yourself on a 200 period weekly SMA. Make sure that it's yellow, because 200 SMAs should be yellow, and go ahead and make that baby a little girthy. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to miss it. All right. And so if we now take away MVRV cycle, we can essentially see that going back to 2015, and really obviously if this would calculate a little bit beforehand, which there is a script for that, but whatever, we can really see that anytime Bitcoin's price has been at or below the 200 weekly simple moving average, it's simple because it's simple, folks, it has been the time to stack sats. All right. It's very simple. Here it is back throughout the 2015 bear market. Here we are at the 2018, 2019 bottom. Here we are at the March meltdown in 2020, the COVID meltdown. And then, of course, following the bottom of 2022, which was probably the most brutal period of extended stay underneath there. And then, of course, we have the FTX collapse, which actually was the absolute bottom of the market the week of the collapse of FTX, November 2022. And so let's see here. We've done this before, but previous bull market or previous bear market bottom to subsequent bull market top took about 153 bars or 1,071 days. Similarly, the bottom to the top took about 1,064 days. And where are we at right now? Well, from the bottom to where we're, oh, come on now. From the bottom to where we're currently at, we're about 833 days in. So we're still not quite there for a bull market cycle high. So fundamentally, I want to be very clear about this. From a fundamental perspective, I do not believe that the bull market is likely over. I do believe that we experience higher prices in 2025. It is not looking very good for the boys right now, but we're going to get into this here in a little bit when we get to our higher time frame charts. Really no reason from a fundamental perspective, in my opinion. I am still holding on to my BTC. I have not made any massive plays such as that so far. Looking at Bitcoin dominance, all right? Bitcoin dominance is sitting at 61.49%. We did just get a daily reversal signal from time transformation on Saturday. We have pulled back a little bit from then. We are still above all major moving averages, which is not bad for a potential setup. I just want to point out that the last reversal signal that we had only had 1 day of follow through, and then we got absolutely blasted in the face by Bitcoin dominance. All right. So why do we look at Bitcoin dominance? Well, Bitcoin dominance really gives us an idea of whether we should expect to see Bitcoin and stablecoin dominance give us an idea of generally from a fund flow perspective, where can we see the market going over the next week or two, which is generally how these daily signals tend to work. So if we correlate Bitcoin dominance with stablecoin dominance has successfully bounced from the consolidation area where we bottomed in April and March of 2024, where we also had that fundamental catalyst of the Fed pausing, giving no clarity on rates. We've had a massive explosion in stablecoin dominance, exactly what I was worried about. I said if we closed above 6%, we were just going to run all the way. We were going to rip to the 200 daily SMA, which is exactly what's happened. We see some consolidation in here over the last 4 days, similar with Bitcoin, really hasn't done anything. And stablecoin dominance similarly is also giving us a reversal signal. We also are quite overextended. So is a dip in stablecoin dominance coming where we actually mean revert in USTD dominance, get a little bit of a move down here, maybe to 6%. We're sitting at 6.52% right now. If that happens, we are going to generally see cryptocurrency prices move up, which it seems that the market has been trying to do for the last little bit. since we also see that correlating with Bitcoin dominance being overextended, it makes us want to turn a little bit of attention to altcoins. All right. Altcoins are heavily oversold. This is others divided by the price of Bitcoin. So when we look at this chart, this is the performance of altcoins relative to Bitcoin, all altcoins excluding the top 10. And so we can see that we are heavily oversold on this metric. We are trending to the downside. I don't really see, I'm going to throw my reversal system on here right now. We do, of course, have a buy signal coming in heavily oversold conditions with regular bullish divergence as well. The last signal, we did not have regular bullish divergence. We were also heavily oversold. We're a little bit more heavily oversold now. We are also now, let's see here. Yeah, I mean, this is new yearly this is new yearly lows in altcoin price performance relative to Bitcoin. So there is another aspect here that we really do need to take into account, and that is the fact that altcoins have significantly outperformed Bitcoin this cycle. And so again, I don't want to be too bearish, but it would behoove me, excuse me, and also you guys, for me to simply point out that except for a few brief moments, this moment right here in November, altcoins really have not done anything for us this cycle in a massive way relative to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has simply been the Mac Daddy of them all. And so again, we are a momentum-based market. So what am I interested in? I'm interested in regaining that type of momentum. So the only thing I really see on the table right now, altcoins are of course not trending very strongly to the upside. Altcoins have been trending very strongly to the downside. That is likely, just looking at the charts and understanding statistics, likely going to be the most successful strategy moving forward. We do seem to have a higher risk mean reversion opportunity on the table, but just understand that I'm not too hot about that, right? I'm not overly excited. I'm not getting out over my skis about that, to be quite honest with you. All right. So potential, we do have some potential movements coming into altcoins. We do have some fundamental on-chain, not on-chain, but some technical data to support that, with Bitcoin dominance being oversold, giving us a reversal signal with with stablecoin dominance being overbought is what I meant to say earlier for Bitcoin. Overbought in our stablecoin dominance, rejecting currently or struggling and consolidating at the 200 daily SMA, and seeing that while that is all happening, altcoin performance is heavily oversold, presenting a mean reversion opportunity. So why did the music stop? Music stopped. I don't like that. Get the shuffle on, get the loop on. Okay. So that's where we're at there. Let's take a gander at Bitcoin here. We still have, of course, a bullish weekly and daily trend. We have a bearish 4-hour trend. We have a bullish hourly trend, a bullish 30-minute trend, and a bearish 5-minute trend. So quite a Christmas tree. So let's obviously start off on the weekly time frame. Good, we're logarithmic. Bitcoin's price is consolidating at approximately the 10-period weekly moving average. All right, we have not closed below the 10 weekly moving average yet, not in a significant fashion. Understand that closing below the 10 weekly moving average has always historically been very bad for Bitcoin, particularly when we were at or near market cycle tops. In almost every situation, we go down further. Right now, do we have any kind of support? Well, we have support in the form of our weekly uptrend coming in around $71,000. Don't think we probably stop at 83, most likely 71. Looking for that kind of big pullback. We shall see if Bitcoin actually puts in some bottoms there. If I start to see some kind of price action like this, where we're actually seeing price bounce up off the lows, then of course I'll be interested to potentially scoop up the lows. And then of course, but again, what is the big trade? I keep saying this over and over and over again. These big trending movements on Bitcoin happen following breakouts. So yes, of course, you can of course attempt to buy low. That's absolutely fine, but you will get less of the trade, but you'll have a much higher win rate and you'll be able to sleep much better at night when you simply buy into strength, because that is how Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies work. Bitcoin a little bit different, because obviously I am a Bitcoin maximalist long term. I only view trading altcoins as a means to grow my wealth. I don't really view them as like the future. I don't believe in any altcoins like long term. That's not who I am. I'm a trader. I'm not married to these bags, bro. Got me screwed up. I've always been a Bitcoin only guy. And so the thing is, with stocks, value investors may step in to buy discounted prices because they seem attractive, but that is not the case with altcoins. It's not a great strategy. Buying dips on altcoins when we're not in a clearly pronounced bull market is not a great strategy because there's no intrinsic value for investors to step in and defend. Unfortunately, it's just the case. So main things I'm watching for here, obviously weekly volatility has blue line. So weekly volatility is at an extreme low. We are looking to get a big movement. And so I think for the average trader, simply monitoring to see which direction we break significantly, whether to the upside or to the downside, it is unfortunately looking more like it's going to be to the downside right now, is likely going to be your best strategy. If you're not sure, if you don't have a good technical strategy, if you're just kind of on the sidelines right now, this is the chart you should be watching for. This is where support is. It looks like we're about to break down from support here. But of course, if we get a nice big greenie to the upside and we break 108 to the upside, then we're probably just going to go back into up only mode, probably go to 125. I don't really see price. We could, of course, triple top here, but we've already double topped here at resistance at 108. There's not a strong incentive for the market to, and anything could happen, but I don't see a strong incentive for the market to go back up just to come back down. I don't really see that. All right. Yeah, I don't want to say that I don't believe in that, Crypto Rick, who says that the weekly dominance candle looks like rejection from resistance. I mean, I'm all well and good with that. And again, that would support the kind of narrative that, hey, maybe buying altcoins right now is not a bad idea. Listen, you guys degen however you want to degen. All right, that's all I'm going to say. All right. Looking at the daily time frame, we can actually extend this out now a little bit more. Okay. Bitcoin continues. I know this wedge isn't perfect, right? Because I'm obviously taking this high and I could be like measuring from here. I mean, maybe that would be like a little bit better if I did something like this, right? Maybe you guys would scream at me less. Okay. Whatever. Well, overall, Bitcoin continues to consolidate in a bit of a wedge or a pennant formation up here at the top. Now, this can be viewed either as a distribution pattern, or this can be viewed as a, as a distribution pattern or a reaccumulation kind of consolidation at the top, breakout pattern. It doesn't really matter. You can speculate either way. It's only, you just have to take a bet, right? And, look for whatever confirmation bias you want. On the daily time frame, Bitcoin has, can you imagine not having a hobby? Like, can we just look at this price action right here? This is literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days of absolutely nothing. All right. A lot of wicks. Okay. Wick City, no price progress whatsoever for 5 days. Oh my dear Lord. Okay, so again, I will just point out that from a reversal perspective or from a mean reversion perspective, every time Bitcoin has deviated below the daily guppy bands, it's always been a good buy, all right? It's only done it twice before technically and come down to the bottom of the band range once back in December 30th and a little bit higher than that previously in the week leading up to Christmas, all right? So we can see that the guppy band is compressing. We can see that Bitcoin's dives down into the lower range of the band have gotten deeper. Excuse me. And we do have a nice daily kind of indecision candle here today. It seems like Bitcoin reached a high of 98,265, reached a low of about 95,265. So a nice about $3,000 range we've been trading in right now. And we are struggling to get back up and generate that positive momentum. I could see kind of a short time frame breakout trade if Bitcoin was able to cross 99,561 and looking to take that maybe to 104. Okay, absolutely can see that on the table. I'd like to wait for that little bit of confirmation and make sure that we're not going to push back down for an actual deeper test closer to 92,527, which of course does make the breakdown closer to 79,000. And again, looking back on that weekly chart down to 71,000 seem a little bit more likely. 4-hour time frame also is pretty helpful here. We've been in a 4-hour downtrend since January 31st and just been unable to break above that 4-hour level of resistance. So again, for those looking kind of for an early trend confirmation, you guys could be looking for 98,281, looking for a nice 4-hour strong close above that, and then maybe add to your position at basically 100,000 on a strong close above the 200 SMA. Perhaps expect a little bit of resistance, maybe a throwback at this point in time. Be alert, be on guard, but that is what I would be watching for right here. So far, I will say that this does seem to be the weakest rejection that we've seen so far. Notice that every other time that we've previously come up into this 4-hour range of resistance, we've gotten thrown back pretty hard, with the exception of this one. All right, we can see it was kind of a 3 black crows pattern, but you know, violent rejection, violent wick down, violent rejection, violent wick down, violent rejection, and here we've just kind of got this like weak baby doji. So I would say the next 4-hour close should be relatively informative. The next 4-hour close is going to close at about 1 hour and 20 minutes, and does seem like we might potentially get a little bit of kind of a bullish signal there if we are able to kind of hold on to this range into this zone and not reject violently. So that one might be reversal confirmation number 1. Reversal confirmation number 2 would be a nice 4-hour close above this range of resistance that we've seen so far. Notice the 4-hour volatility is also very, very low, so we are also looking for a 4-hour breakout. Basically, we are looking for a move. Let's see here. I don't really think there's really any reason to go any further low. All of that's fine. We're basically in the middle of the intraday range, with Bitcoin's price basically sitting right at VWAP. We see that similarly on the 30-minute and the 200 period. On the 1 hour, we're coming up here to test the 200 SMA. Similar to that 4-hour guppy band, we've rejected every single time. So, and we'll see. So yeah, I would say if we can get some bullishness over the next maybe the next 8 to 12 hours, we're either looking, if Bitcoin's price does want to climb, I would be looking at that 98,349 to potentially trade to the upside here, and probably be going for that 104. Yes to crypto. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Coming down to Ethereum on the weekly time frame, Ethereum is putting in a nice little bit of a bounce off of the weekly 200 SMA. All right, this is the same level that we bounced from previously over here. Basically consolidated here for quite a while also previously. Similar to Bitcoin, every time so far in this bull market that we've deviated below the guppy bands, it's been a screaming buy. All right, so I'll just point that out. Okay, Ethereum so far has been able to break above 4,000 in any convincing fashion. To make a new all-time high, we would need to get above about 4,800, 4,900, I believe, would be a new all-time high on Ethereum. Why are we not in logarithmic mode? Somebody help me. Okay. So yeah, I can definitely see from a weekly perspective, not a bad time to take risk, particularly following the devastation of last week's weekly candle. All right. So I see it, guys. I see a strong reason to want to buy the dip. Okay, we're in a good technical position on the weekly time frame to buy an Ethereum dip. I'm just going to leave it at that. That's all I'm going to say. I would say that we're in a significantly less good place to buy a Bitcoin dip. All right. And so you need to factor that in. All right. You need to factor that in. Is Ethereum really going to pump if Bitcoin is going to dump? Okay. I don't think so. I find that unlikely. It's possible, not likely. Ethereum is in a bearish daily trend. Okay. Ethereum has been rejecting from this descending trend line every single time we've gotten up there. Now, Ethereum on the daily time frame is trading below all major moving averages, so I can, of course, see a reversion to the mean trade here. Daily volatility is almost maxed out, so potentially we do see a little bit of a recovery bounce, maybe up to 29.54, which would be about a 10% movement to the upside for Ethereum. Not really liking that setup, I'm not going to lie. Again, similar to Bitcoin, we can also just simply go no further than the 4-hour time frame, where we see the guppies have been very instrumental in helping us see basically this downtrend that Ethereum has been in, constantly rejecting from the lower boundary of the guppies here, showing some strength here with some nice wicks to the downside, I will say, overnight and early this morning. So overall, honestly, the 4-hour is potentially shaping up for a potential move. I would want to see a close above 27.96, and then potentially we could take this to the 200 SMA up at about 31.26. Well, looking at Solana, oops. All right. Recalculating. I don't really see a big incentive for Solana right here. I mean, obviously we're at a previous market cycle high. On the weekly time frame, we are still in an uptrend, but we've basically just gone sideways since July, to be quite honest with you. Like, I know like it doesn't feel that way because like we went from 200 down to like 100, back up to 200, and that's a big range. But that's essentially all we've done. We're not going from 20 to 200. We're just not in that cycle anymore. So that's about all I see. Similar to Bitcoin, I don't really see the strong incentive to be going long from a long-term perspective here on Solana. I would really want to see either a big dip, maybe down to $90, or a break out of our current previous high, something like 267. Right. So I mean that's a big move, but that's really what I want to see from Solana. I just don't really see the attraction, to be quite honest with you guys. On the daily time frame, we are of course bouncing from the 200 SMA. This is a level where proximity has generated nice bounces on Solana before. The last one was a nice bounce from 184 all the way up to almost $300. So I will simply just say that. So this would be kind of a triple bottom area. Understand that the more times we test support, but hey, we tested support what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times over here before going from about 140 all the way up to 260. So take that with a grain of salt. We do have some nice wicks to the downside here. Level to break, I would say, for Ethereum. Honestly, we're at our first kind of level of resistance right now. So if we can get a nice close above the 10 daily exponential moving average, sitting at about 204.85, then maybe I'll be a little bit more excited to talk about Solana. And again, really, just similarly, really need look no further than the 4-hour time frame, which we are rejecting from on a doji candle with a high wick, similar to kind of what we saw over here, where the 4-hour guppy trend was just keeping us down. And don't really see anything except for obviously we have a double bottom, nothing but lower highs. We have a double top here. I would say a breakdown of 200 at this point in time is probably going to be pushing price all the way back down to 189. So what I would want to see from Solana is a close above 206.97. AJ, I do not know what happened to your wrench. I do remember your previous name. I do remember that. So I don't know if you were using a different account, but I will tell you what, we did definitely go through and prune a lot of the wrenches. Now that I have you in mind, we will circle back on the wrench. I know a lot of people in San Juan, actually. Alex is down there. Let's see here. Thank you, Dan. Alex says the F200 weekly simple moving average seems to be rolling over. Not a good look. It's not. It's not. Right. I mean, as it sits right now, it does position us for... It's not a bad trade, right? It's just how do you structure it, right? So you have to see that on the weekly, and then you need to actually snipe on the daily, right? With good invalidation. XRP has not closed below the 10 weekly moving average yet. It's currently bouncing from it, but it's not a fantastic look from XRP. Very sharp sell-off here on the weekly time frame. Again, similarly, I'm not really seeing a strong incentive to purchase XRP here at these quite inflated prices. We shall see, especially with declining volume. XRP on the daily has now deviated below the daily guppy bands, which are starting to roll over a little bit, meaning they're likely going to act as resistance. If we can get a close above $2.67 on XRP, then that does start to paint a different picture, but right now doesn't really look fantastic. And again, just something that seems to be very common here. We really, if you're looking for price to go from oversold, right? That's fine. Price can be oversold for years and just keep going down further. It doesn't, you know, and all it does is like maybe put in a little bit of a recovery bounce, a little bit of a recovery bounce, a little bit of a recovery bounce. Those don't need to be the trades that you take. But we go to the 4-hour time frame and we can really start to see this shift in trend. So again, going down to the 4-hour time frame, we've always rejected from these guppy bands. What would we like to see? Well, we'd like to see a close above $2.49, $2.51, I guess, if we want to be really pedantic, from XRP. Because we want to see evidence that we're actually trending to the upside. That's what we want to see. All right, looking at our Elon surprise, Doge is down pretty bad. On the weekly time frame, we've descended all the way back down into the guppy EMA bands. Nice bounce off of the bottom. And so again, I could see a potential mean reversion trade on the table here for altcoins. You know, Doge could bounce here maybe 20%, retest the 10 weekly moving average. But I mean, we're not particularly oversold on the weekly time frame. Volatility is still relatively high. On the daily time frame, we are finding a little bit of support and curling over at the 200 daily SMA, which we really, I mean, we haven't been back here since October of 2024. So big, you know, it's been a hell of a journey up the mountain and down the other side, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you. So I do like to see this initial curling. I would just like to see a little bit more follow through. We have resistance coming up at around 26.7 cents for Dogecoin. And of course, we have a bearish daily trend with volatility about maxed out on the daily time frame. And again, 4-hour time frame. We've been rejecting from our bearish 4-hour guppies for quite a while. Level to break is about 26.4 cents. And then potentially we get a push to the 200 SMA up at about 32.6 cents. So on the table, higher risk. All right. With that being said, gold continuing to perform amazingly. Gold, new high, 29.05 today. Beautiful stuff. Silver also in a nice uptrend at about 32 cents. Natural gas, pamping. And I love to see it. This is my largest commodities position right now. Very, very happy. Started accumulating natural gas around $14 a contract. So happy. Looking at oil. Oil is having a little bit of an update today at about 72 cents on the oil futures on NYMEX. Really, again, I've been very consistent about this. Still looking for that breakdown below $67. Looking for $50 per contract. Looking at the SPY, the IVV ETF sitting at about 608.02. So holding its daily uptrend, but overall we are just ranging level to break for a big SPY break out of 613.65. The NASDAQ, the triple Q is sitting at about 529.98. You know, obviously a pretty rough Friday. We gapped up today, level to break short term 530.07, but more is about 535. I'd like to see a break on the Qs. Looking at US equities. MicroStrategy is just doing its thing, consolidating around its major moving averages. We're either going to take a dive down to 220 to kind of reset the market, or I want to see a breakout of about $400. Coinbase doing a very similar thing, consolidating its moving averages. Nvidia having a very strong bounce back after trading down to 114, up at 134 a share. SMCI trending up about $40. Tesla actually trading down below all major moving averages except the 200. Palantir unstoppable. And I don't really have anything else to say. DJT is doing something very similar as well, consolidating below the 200 daily SMA here also.